in just a half second here. So, how do you want to be introduced? How do you want to be known?
Oh, probably my last name, the Inu and Leod. Let's be proper ancestral here. So Sharna, Inu and Leod.
Beautiful. So, how do you want to be introduced? Make sure that that's paused. Yep, there we go. All right. So, Witch is Misha Naomi from Dream Waters Wellness, and I've got Sharna Inuan McLeod with us here today, who is a beautiful friend, a wonderful peer, and one of my companions on the spiritual journey. But I'll pass it over to Sharna to tell us a little bit more about herself. And yeah, just do you want to tell us a little bit about the different practices, processes, and who
Yeah.
this human is?
Well, as you get older, there's more and more and more things you can speak to when you get asked this big question, isn't there? I'm feeling very multidimensional, so I've kind of got like these four quadrants of spaces and places in myself that have very different lenses. So one is through bilateral art therapy and just the understanding of the creative process. And then I've got the dream alignment and also the bilateral aspect, because that's more to do with the electromagnetic body. So how we store memories and stuff, but also how we held physically. And then there's also the blue diamond frequencies that are coming through, which is opening up the more, well, we call them galactivations. It's like a way more galactic interpretation of what I've learned through the journey of the bard and the Euro-Asian shamanism, which I've learned through you, Naomi. So there's like these four different levels, but I can't speak to one without the other because they all complement each other now. And I can also see where I need to take them. So, and that's a few months. So I'm kind of in a nice transmutational cocoon of everything. But I guess that comes, a lot of women say now that I'm 35, 36, soon to be 37. It is like this more mature and like, yeah, feeling when I can speak about myself. I don't get that awkwardness of, oh, who am I? It's like, I'm all these things. Which one do you want to know?
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to, yeah, how did you come into your spiritual practice and come into all of these four quadrants at this time? Like, where did it kind of begin?
That's a big question too. Because again, it's this multidimensional, like lots of things started at different times. But I guess when I started taking ownership of it being a spiritual practice rather than just, soul work or, all these other terms we come across as we start doing self-development and turning inwards, is the ancestral work I did with yourself. I
Mm.
feel like that started taking ownership of, or maybe not ownership, but like accountability into filtering out what I'm carrying in my blood and my somatic body that is maybe genetic, learning about, genetics and DNA and stuff. And then also being responsible to learn behaviors and patterns of being a mother and just, trying to be a good human. So it's always a spiritual process, isn't it? We're all born into that to some extent, but to take that responsibility on to do that filtering work to get to a more centered understanding is probably how I'd answer that.
Beautiful. Okay.
Mm.
And so, like, if I recall properly, like, you had a period. First, you started with art therapy. Art therapy was kind of like your awakening because your art therapy training had some kind of aspect of transpersonal shamanic process in it. That when you came in contact with me, it gave that like a deeper comprehension to that. Do you want to speak a little bit about your art therapy beginnings and this process that you experienced there?
Mm. Yeah, so I was very blessed, and I continue to be blessed in a way that I started my transpersonal, which was what the course was called, transpersonal art therapy. And then they had transpersonal counseling. They ran parallel. So it was more to bring it beyond normal talk when we're talking about mental illnesses, because we were going off the DSM and all that sort of stuff. But that sort of got separated into a more clinical, how you can use it versus how you can bring shamanism and this deep sense of a social ecology And it was only there for that 2 years. So my diploma went over 3 years before it all got, you know, transitioned, I guess, into a more learning structured environment with BSL and Vet V Help and all those things. So I got to be there when we had a shaman open up for us and everything like that. And no one else has experienced that since that first 2 years. And for me, that was just potent because I'd never done, journeys to a tarot card, and like all these different elements got to come into psychology. And
Mm.
that's how I learn. I'm very symbolic, hence I went into art. So it was a great enmeshment for me at that time, and yeah, and point in time, I guess, for all of art therapy in Queensland to have that access. So, but I was still unpacking a lot of fear because my childhood, I would see things, and generally the darker, more demonic, like whatever those words are, denser frequencies as a child. So my art therapy helped me unpack my experiences that were transpersonal. And at the same time, I got this um, learning on how to use art as a communication tool with your own inner shaman rather than talking to and going and looking for these people. So that's why when I came into the ancestral stuff and started meeting medicine people and actually learning more about people's heritages and stuff, it's given me goosebumps. It sort of pulled me out of that inner work into a more external reflection. And I guess that's what Carl Jung talks about, is when you get through the shadow, you find the mirror. So, and then from other, it all just, it's multidimensional again. But at this point in time, I feel like that's what helped coming into the work that you were teaching me, was helping me now see and be that accountability, that responsibility part. All these things you're going to apply.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And so it started with the art therapy, this transpersonal connection to the internal self. And then I think it was about 2020 when Sharna and I met. And Sharna originally came for a past life redemption reading. And we had really incredible synchronicities happening in the clouds. And there was just a lot of layers of very interesting stuff that came out of like our first engagement. From there, I went on to train in holographic kinetics, and then I came to live with Sharna randomly. And it turned out that Sharna had previously done some of the processes of holographic kinetics with someone for multiple years and had already a comprehension of surrogacy in that modality. When Sharna and I came together, Sharna asked a question at one point of, how do you know this? Which then started this like whole like, how do I know this? And I came very quickly to Journey of the Bard by Yvonne Owens and this initiation through the tree process, Promethea by Alan Moore, and Women Who Run with the Wolves. And I was like, these are kind of like the foundations to give a comprehension to the psychological basis of where I'm coming from with my teachings. With that, we launched into the Animist Journey. And so Sharna was my first uh, year and a day process of taking someone through the journey of the bard, and we did the Animist Journey during that time. As you've probably noticed already, Sharna has quite a thirst for psychology, art therapy, alternative ways of comprehending things, which I too share. So together we conglomerated and we birthed a 3-month project that was a personal, somatic, and art therapy process that worked its way to a exhibition as empowerment and a theater performance piece of your animist journey through this process. And so Sharna has been this exceptional being in alongside my growth into like where I headed to, and then Sharna has just continued this way. So prior to me training dream alignment, Sharna trained in dream alignment and was actually a very big poignant point of inspiring me to also train in dream alignment. So Sharna, do you want to tell us a little bit about dream alignment and this kind of awareness that you have because of that modality?
Mm. Yes, I will. But before I do, I can't stop thinking about how happy my spirit is that you mentioned Promethea. Like I'm just like that, just to learn about, how the occult language through comic is just, yeah, I'm
Mm.
such an okay. Dream alignment. Hmm. There's so many things to mention about dream alignment. What would the audience hear? Okay, I'll start with a painting, which is a collage, not a painting, just because it's interesting and it's just where I feel that I am to be able to answer this. So this is a collage I did yesterday,
Mm.
and it's to do with the Lionsgate, the 8/8 coming up soon. And really, for me, it represents just a time where I sat to integrate what you just asked me, Naomi, because using dream alignment is very individual. Again, I guess, like you said, when we merge all these, different ways of seeing things into what feels right for us or what brings joy, probably more so through the process for us. And also understanding with dream alignment what we're aligning ourselves to. Like it's not like, yeah, we can just, oh, sorry, I'll speak for me. It's not like I can use dream alignment to go out and code a reality I want to see out in the world and, put it into people and objects and inanimate things and like that more witchcrafty vein of thinking. You know, anything can be done through intention in any way. So it's just one creative process. But for me, it's bigger. It's like I sit with the intention to do a dream alignment session for months before I go there. It's interesting. It's like I've been given codes from the stars, but I know there's times and places to use them for
Mm.
me
Mm-hmm.
because it's what I'm aligning to. Though there's many, many moments I've done sessions on people because the permission's been there. And then you go into, how you're going to use this exchange of energy or money or current, whatever you're going to do. But it's very rare. And if I do, that's easy to do because you're set this permission. But what I use dream alignment for is aligning myself closer and closer and closer to myself. And it's dream alignment taught me to really show up 100%. Hence why in that collage, zero's right there. Because whatever's not part of the 100% goes through that void. It just goes to the abyss, because I know I can code whatever I need from the Sirius, from the sun, from wherever your connections are in the galactic realm. So bringing that together with the understanding of the abyss and how to destroy and create at the same time is how I answer. Dream alignment is how to destroy and create at the same time. And then we use those kind of words: change time, slow down time. What are they? Redirect time. What are the other ones? We're going to bend time,
Collapse time.
lapse time. Yeah, there's another term. So all these things, and it's fine to be able to do them. But again, reflecting on what's the intention? Is this, like you say, in the highest interest of all involved? Like having these gifts. Yeah, you learn. I think, I learned once. I don't like doing it the wrong way because it doesn't feel nice. And you only do that once to create a version to be like, okay, yeah, we won't try that now. Find another angle.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's very electromagnetic. It's very potent is probably the word I'll
Hmm.
go with. Complements anything else you do with it, would you say?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd say that dream alignment is a beautiful addition, like battery pack. At least in my
Yeah,
in my processes, dream alignment has come in as this kind of like just a little bit of an extra power pack to everything that I bring.
I like
So
that.
yeah, I find that yeah, it's a beautiful assistance to other modalities in the way that it has kind of developed to work within my practice.
Mm,
Has been really lovely. But I really appreciate how you have this capacity to use quantum codes, put them into the morphic field, to clear ancestral trauma, to clear blocked muscles, meridians, health issues, this kind of stuff. But there
mm,
is still this awareness of like, careful what you wish for. Is almost what I'm hearing in what you're saying is like, so making sure
mm,
that the intention is really clear and that this is what we need, this is what we desire before you use this modality to accelerate and align. And like that accelerate point, I think, is what is the caution point, maybe perhaps, was because like when you do use the codes, sometimes it goes faster, and it's um, I know in my comprehension with it is that sometimes it's not always easier just because it's going
mm,
faster. So sometimes,
mm.
yeah, it is about that timing of when is the best moment to bring this practice and this process, this jet fuel to accelerate into the day. So
Battery.
So Sharna did the Animist Journey and did a year and a day of the Tree of Life journey, the Bard process that I do, which is an initiation through a Cran Bardath, the Tree of Life, through your internal self. And Sharna is now embarking on her second time around the tree with Yonasi Calibri. And do you want to share any of the? We also, Sharna and I also worked very, very closely for about 8 months, just about 4 times a week, doing a Kid in a Dream time, but also working and developing different ways to work with the drum, different ways to heal, do distance healings and curse removals and ancestral clearings at the tree. So in all of that kind of clump of couple of years of really being focused into it, what are some of the takeaways that you would be able to speak to about the dive through the tree or any of the Eurasian shamanic processes with the drum?
Okay, I've got some notes I took today actually, which are in visual form. There's a couple of ways. And I've got one other thing up on the wall here that I want to show. Just communication tools.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll start with this. So this is from the Turiakura King Asea, who has the Kopu temple, the Venus temple in Aotearoa, if that's how you pronounce it, in New Zealand. So this is one of her drawings. So this is what she calls the star map. It's a personal. So you'll see how we've got the wheel of life, which is where the tree is, and then here is where you start moving into the blue diamond stuff, and then you're in your galactic, right? But if you look from the side, it's kind of like a starship, if that was on an angle. It's
Mm-hmm.
like a ship. So that's like the mothership is probably the best way to put it. And then that connects in with our personal, you know, ancient technology, our internal tech, right? So that's, I'm still learning about this stuff, but that will just put into perspective where the tree is. These are the notes I took this morning. And what was interesting is because I'm doing all the blue diamond stuff and you come down, 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 there's the wheel. So I found a new wheel of life. But here in the journey, you connect your hair to the tree.
Mm.
And this activates all this knowledge. And when I did that, it was just like, whoa, like, because I've been trying to do these journeys and falling asleep. So I've tried sitting, I've tried to do all different things, but I just find I just fall asleep. It's so relaxing. So to actually stand up today and move with the words, I went on a more visual journey because I was with my tree. I was with the drum. I was with those tools that I'm used to using to move through realms, right? From the
Mm.
work, be able to do that and actually connect my hair into the tree. It was like I could plug into the, so really the information that's being, what's the word, photosynthesized into the leaves of this whole other thing that's being communicated to the tree. And it was just beautiful talk about that there wasn't euphoric for the last 3 weeks. I'm like, oh, I've made it. Literally, it was profound. I love it so much. I love it so much. And that's why when you asked me to introduce myself at the beginning, I'm like, I've got this whole other understanding now of how all of these modalities integrate and complement each other. And I don't feel I would be worthy of having access to what I experienced this morning while I'm integrating this blue diamond to get my seal of, oh, me and my ancestors, me and my everything. Like I don't feel that fear of needing to separate. It's still going to be part of my human experience, but in this moment, while I'm integrating the information, it's like, wow, the tree of life is bridging. It's bridging to this. And what she was talking about is because it's like all the portals of the planet, right? Because all the planet is it, external representation of it all being inside us. We talk about that a lot too, but to understand where those portals are with the energy that's coming through into the planet, like
Mm.
same as what's coming into our personal trees.
Mm-hmm.
It's that process. So it's very unifying and it's very What's the word? I'm just grateful to be feeling this. I'm grateful to be feeling this, not being where I used to be in my psychology with the state of the world and all the distractions. And like you mentioned, we've been really focusing the last 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
haven't we? And it's a choice. It's a choice. So, yeah. And superimpose that picture on top of the Kabbalah of the tree, and it gives you a different map. So that's where I'm at now, trying to understand how the two can integrate. And of course, I'll create an artwork about it. That will be my next big collage. But it's
Beautiful.
good because it's focused, and that's what the art does in creating, yeah, visual containers to represent those moments in time. Right? We can't remember everything at once, so we
Mm-hmm.
leave little pockets to keep talking.
Mm-hmm. So you slipped from, so the techniques that you did with me, you found that today, as you're trying to bridge into this more blue diamond work with the Maori that you're doing, it gave you this foundational comprehension, and then now at this stage you're sliding into a different awareness with this blue diamond that you're going to bring into Australia. So do you want to tell us a little bit about the Venus temple that's in Aotearoa, and like what is coming to Australia, like because this mentor of yours is arriving in Australia soon, yes?
Yes, well, it was originally going to be October, but again, time is happening. So, like, um, her guidance from elders, as well as her team, her Akasha. That's the other thing that's also a part of all of this is the Akasha. Are all saying it's going to be more so March equinox now,
Mm.
next year, October, because it turns out once we've integrated the blue diamond, as in meaning you might have heard of the 1,000 and what is it, 144,000 aspects of self, or people are meant to ascend, or like there's lots of prophecy about this number 144,000. But what I'm learning from what she's bringing through is that's just how many people it takes to enter the mothership to charge it up. So that's what again this ancient tech is. There is something that's we're connecting to it, a more unified consciousness. My ears are ringing now just talking about it, right? But it's integrating. It's already here. It's
Yeah.
probably already been 50 years or whatever. Like there's many stories to it, but the point is stories change when you start going into changing time, recreating time, and you know. So yeah, that's kind of what diamond is everyone understanding they've got that internal blue diamond portal that they can come to understand to, connect to mother up here, Sirius mother as well as the earth mother
Hmm.
as the two. And that's what the Merkaba is and all our consciousness and da 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 da. But once that happens, the mothership is actually the white diamond. So
Hmm.
it takes many people to start being in that frequency all the time. That's why we're building up to be able to bring the white diamond through. So that's why it's moved to March, because we haven't got the blue diamond set yet. Everyone's still doing their work, and one person does work and then the other one speeds up, and it's all very ebb and flow. So you can't predict the timing of things, but yeah, so I'm interested to learn more and more and more about portals now, because now that I feel that I can integrate the tree and all these different things, I feel like I'm worthy enough to do this, to show people how. Like it's a big thing to say, come here and read your Akasha and dream align your goals, all these things. Like, what's the purpose? It's for this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's for this. So, yeah, that's all I can probably speak to now. I can always send out links if anyone's interested in knowing more.
Yeah, definitely. So
Resonance.
the Blue Diamond will be coming through Australia at some point. So the mentor that Sharna is currently speaking about will perhaps add in the comments some links to her work so that you can put some points of reference to that if you're curious about what's being spoken there. Back to that for a half
Mm-hmm.
second, though. It's interesting that you say that the Blue Diamond is first. It's a collective process that's going forward, because when I participated in the activation of the Rainbow Serpent in January 2020, um, that was the solar plexus chakra being activated by and rolling around the world and checking. So it's interesting that here we are a number of years down, and we're at where the blue sector would be, the throat and the third eye. and then speaking to
Mm-hmm.
the necessity of the white diamond. Because the white diamond above our consciousness is the 18 inches above our head is the 12th chakra, which is the seat of our soul's purpose. And it's a white
Oh.
orb. So
Mm-hmm.
I find it interesting that it's like enough of us need to get into the frequency of like the collective consciousness, the globe needs to move into this blue, get into this
Mm-hmm.
finite form because diamonds are formed through intense heat and pressure, right? And then so it's getting into this like all the pressure kind of breaking you down into this like beautiful, you know yourself. Diamonds are the hardest thing on the planet. So there's no solubility. There's no porousness. You know every aspect of yourself when you come into diamond. Then saying that it needs a certain amount of bodies and consciousness to activate the mothership is a really interesting concept that comes into ergomorphs. And ergomorphs exist by collective consciousness. So this is the Buddha and the thousand stretches. So where Buddha does the stretches 1,000 times, 1,000 different stretches, but then because the bridge is built, you just do one stretch to get the benefit of that 1,000 stretches. Dream alignment is also based upon this theory, and then lots of spell work is based upon this as well. So you do something a certain amount of repetitions, and then you can summarize and minimize it. But that's because there's these collective consciousness spaces that are created then called the ergomorphs. And so in this, the etheric spaces, which in Promethea they speak of it as the ethers or the inertia. And so, but another way of thinking about it is when the collective consciousness comes together, it creates an ergomorph. So if there was a time in consciousness on this planet that we were operating in that mothership, in this the 12th consciousness, the seat of our the 12th chakra, the seat of our soul's purpose here in this incarnation, and we had a collective consciousness fueling towards this kind of thing, but we kind of dumbed down as a species. So that dusty old thing will still be sitting there, that consciousness, that awareness. And so when you're describing it, I just see kind of like this waking up of an old ancestral way of doing things. And we need a certain level of coins within the consciousness to give that ergomorph its body, its flesh, its praise again. So yeah,
Mm.
very interesting and intriguing. So let's rewind you back a little bit, and let's go back to in the Dreamtime days, um,
Mm-hmm.
bumping around the trees, developing different processes, and attending to ancestral requests and kind of things like that. So just back when the first time we were going around the tree, um, is there any stories, memories, or anything that pops up that you'd like to share that was just really like that was a big moment for me, either in this stuff is real or in like this has tangibility in my life for these good reasons. Like, just something.
Okay. There's a few coins dropping. We'll
Mhm.
start with the one that's the last coin that dropped because it's the most present. So, the first thing I would say that I learned was because I came in with only the art side of my capacity. I painted a whole MDF board with all the different entities that we had encountered through the holographic kinetics.
Mm,
So that's, yeah, laying down, and spirit brings to mind certain reels. It's kind of like doing like a past life regression, would you say,
mhm.
Amy?
Yeah.
But like, yeah, difference. You don't always necessarily feel like you're a human, right? It's more etheric and creative. Hence, Prometheus, just an example, isn't it? So yeah, but because I did not want to share those stories, it was very confronting to paint them. And I've still got that, but it's always facing the wall, and I've got stuff around it, like, because it really does feel like all those narratives have been put into that. That is the zero, that is the container, into the abyss for those things. So so yeah, that was one thing that came out of bumping around the tree for quite some time, and other people's trees, because we also, well, I don't know if Damie already knew this, but I didn't understand completely that I was able to surrogate and move into other people's trees and surrogate their story, process their stories. And so it's a probably a bit of a collaboration between Aobi's tree and my tree. That picture, maybe two other people. So that was an interesting thing that came through the first round. Also learning to use my drum in different ways. Um, but more so not so much using the drum in a different way. It's still the same drum beat, but having different processes and journeys to, tether the um, also understanding how to muscle test or just check in, clear yourself and check in to make sure that the ancestors you're making altars for or offerings to or even dialoguing with happy, healed, and whole. As Naomi says, it's 7 to 10. Anything below a 7, a hungry ghost, and that just changed my everything. Honestly, I'm learning that and going back through all the different lines to find one ancestor for each line that can be, responsible for healing that whole line, and then showing up in discipline to do those altars and processes things. So it was so new to me then. When was this? 3, 4, 5 years ago.
4 years ago, going on 5. Yeah,
Yeah, going on 5. Yeah,
but
so they're
60.
probably the three main from the first time round. The second time round, the tree's been very different because we're not hyper focused on the holographic side of things, and because all got cleared out in that first time, the second time round's been much more on a physical level. Yeah, because it's just been completely sucked out. So this time round, it's been, a lot more about changing the behaviors, making the actions, applying, applying the everything, and fine tuning everything. Um, yeah, but through both of those trees, I also found the art form of shibari.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that I really do want to speak to here because all of that stuff is all great, but all the below 7 stuff, all those frequencies are still always activating. Like my ears clogging up talking about it. Like there's still work to be done. So I feel like shibari's sort of become my way of honoring the process of understanding that those narratives still need a channel. I guess shadows are still always hidden, and it is shibari arts is still something a lot of people in my life find grotesque or perverse or whatever their narratives are, which it's true, it is all those things. That's what the art form allows itself to be, right? Doesn't mean you have sit in those frequencies. So I've kept that going through the second tree as well, and that surprised me because I thought once I cleared myself from the pain body trauma stories that I would move on to a new art form because that's what I do. But no, the art forms just there's just so much it entangles everything, and that's why I feel it was that tree putting the hair into the tree and out of the tree. I feel like it is for me. It's like it's fibers. It's the love of just knowing how to use natural resources from your environment, and we that in honoring of a process that it brings stigma. It brings up all the stigma. It's quite beautifully comical. So, yeah, I'm gonna finish. Did I
Yeah,
answer the question?
I think so. I think so. So let's shift over to the Shivari. So just to bring some context from my awareness, I've been observing Sharna exploring Shivari for the last couple of years, and at different points have worked with Sharna within that practice. And what I observed was this incredible conglomeration of this art therapy processing mixing with a bit of a pain rites passage because there is these points where the rope bites or certain things you have to breathe through, and there's these aspects that can have this kind of edge of tension to it and this painful points to it, but it's about like this constriction, the holding, the release, and mixing the dream alignment with the art therapy process, and then also bringing in the ropes to remove the somatic trauma that was locked in the body I personally experienced some incredible sessions with Sharna, mixing these three things together. So, in my observations of you, if this is at all accurate, but feel free to confirm or take it in a different way. But what I've been feeling, I've been observing, is watching Sharna develop this um, way of somatic therapy, of working with the ropes, working with trauma, working with stigma, working with the things locked in the body, and how to safely move that. Because as you were saying, there is a lot of stigma because there is this fetishized kind of perverse side to the shvari that people just assume. But what I've watched you walk more so is this more like, this is about control, this is about power, this is about finding trauma in the body, finding safety in the body, and like tension and then release. And this, yeah, just in my experience of it and what I've been observing is the development of a really powerful somatic healing process with the ropes. So, how do you feel that's an accurate way of explaining what's been going on for you with your exploration with them? Yeah.
Yes, everything. It's very nice to receive those words with, yeah, with the art form. It definitely is. And I challenged that last week. I went into rope space with my rigger, who I've been working with for 5 years, 4.5 years. Um, and this time I said, I want to try something different. I said to him, I want you to give me 3 words. So normally I would enter space and I'd have the 3 words. I'd have the narrative or some sense of whether it's just the body part I'm feeling it in or like whatever the summary words are. And then we discover the story through actually doing the interactive ties and the art forms and the feelings and whatever's expressing and communicating all the stuff. But this time I asked him for 3 words and I said, I want to embody this story for you to see what it's like to one surrogate, knowing I can surrogate someone else's story so that they can see it played out for them. It's very gestalt.
Mm-hmm.
I think gestalt therapy because I've seen a bunch of actors do it once where it was at the Eco Village conference and they were giving out words about their experience with their land. And then all the actors did it out and people were crying because we could all identify with what it's like when our crops die or this or that. Right. So it was like, so that's sort of the thing I wanted to try. And it was amazing because it happened. And I felt the feelings of the person's partner who just, did some serious damage. I don't know. I was like, yeah, pretty serious to the elbow because they're a competing pole dancer. So like it's really affected their partner's mental health and how much they need to show up. And I embodied the whole thing. I could not let go. I got angry. As soon as my
Mm-hmm.
hand landed there, I just had the different somatic things came up. And I didn't know any of these things, but it's because I allowed that surrogacy and that story to be told. And then that person had to hold me through the thing they're dealing with that person without needing to use words. They could actually process what it's like to show up for that. So I
Mm-hmm.
was giving me goosebumps. And this is where I want to take it because it's, yeah, like I'm obviously still going to come to ropes if I've got something I need to process through, but to demonstrate an art form that's removed, I know that I could surrogate and make it a more interactive experience for everyone. And everyone can then, it's more of a collective maybe story that comes through,
Mm-hmm.
like bringing in, yeah,
Yeah, this is
yeah.
very really cool because that's I have a background in theater of the oppressed, and it is that work of like simple things and people playing it out, and this for people
Mm,
that don't know what surrogacy is when you can invite in another person's spirit or another being or a building or a land into your body so that then you can see, you feel, you see, and you can process through your vehicle what their soul is experiencing. And Sharna
mm,
is exceptional at this. Some of us, pretty much all of us, can surrogate for someone, but you need to have a really, really good surrogate. You need someone that has really strong clairsenses. And Sharna has really strong clairsentience in the way that she physically feels. Her clairaudience, how she hears, and her clairvoyance is really exceptional. So with this and years and years of being a surrogate for different medical processes and alternative healing processes, um, now we see where this is also coming into this development of what is Sharna's red cord and eventually black cord. You know, what is the work that Sharna is here to bring as this healer in this incarnation. Um, super super cool. And yeah, it's so very interesting to see like all of the path that comes. So you've mentioned your art. You showed us a couple bits of art. Um, do you find does the spirit influence the art? Does the art influence the spirit? How come your art practice goes alongside your spiritual practice? What can you
No, they're
unenvish this one?
not separate. They are not separate at all. It's like there's a saying that art animates life and life animates art. Like and that's also what Shabari's told me. So there's another thing that's coming is you breathe in, you feel a constriction, but it's the pause before you release. It's the pause. And I feel like that's what the creative process is. There's always the breathing in and the breathing out. But the pause is where it manifests in some sort of, it's got some sort of meaning
Mm.
or 1,000 words in one little image. You know what I mean? It's like a masterpiece. It's just an object that somehow takes on, you probably have a better word for it, like a quantum packet of information or something. What did you call them? Those ergomorphs. Like that would even be one of them. It's like it drops in and it's this whole
You're going to
mood.
visit the space. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what art is for me. I can't remember a time where I've ever drawn something that hasn't come to fruition or I've had more understanding for years down the track. Like it's just they always just keep layering.
Mm.
And yeah.
And so would you say that some of your art pieces are then prophetic and like your paint or design the future?
Yes, yes, definitely. And that was why I wasn't allowed to create any art last. Well, I've been able to create most of this year, but yeah, the last 2 years, I couldn't bring myself to do any kind of art. But I was studying a lot and creating in a mental space rather than physically doing it. But because I knew, that's what I was saying before about that feeling of being worthy to actually share this and help other people. It's one thing to do it for yourself when you've got little permissions with people you're safe with, but on a bigger level, it's like I needed to move through that 2 years of really knowing that I'm responsible for what I create, especially if I'm make something that's prophetic for everyone, which is what the Blue Diamond wants from me, rather than me just being prophetic to my own process. And
Mm,
yeah, people know because it's soul work. We all know that we're all doing something and it all resonates, but it's a bigger thing when you're talking prophecy.
mm,
Um, yeah, and I've met a few people that have prophesized things that I've shown up for just because I'm interested to see what would happen if it did or didn't happen, you know. So I've played around with how it feels by by allowing myself to experience that with certain people in our circle. But I feel like it's all been preparation to, because we learn what not to do from people.
mhm,
And if you're not showing up to learn the what not to do, limiting yourself,
mhm.
because Earth School,
Uh,
it's not always feeling great.
Cool. So at one point you had splay art therapy, was it? And then you also had Pathways to Harmony, were two of your different vehicles of offerings that people could connect for online or in person if they're around Brisbane, Australia, but are online if they're anywhere in the world. Um, for an art therapy session, a dream alignment session, or some kind of combination of the others. Is there anything you have that we could direct people to check out? And then you're also kicking around a really beautiful wilderness center right now. So if you would like to also tell us a little
Yeah,
bit about what's going on over that way. And so Sharna
yeah. Well,
is located in Brisbane, Australia. Just so you're aware, Queenslanders, this is some pumps to you, and then also some of Sharna's services are available online. So you can either contact myself or try and find Sharna, and we'll put you in touch to be able to do an incredible session of one sort or another. But I'll just hand it over to Sharna to tell us about what she got going on over there.
okay, so to contact me is probably best to go through Cooper Darwin. That's where I've landed now, and it's called Cooper Darwin because that's the indigenous word here from the Yugara people for possum. It's the land of possums. And the possum is also the one that goes up and down the tree of life, right? It integrates all we were talking about. It's just perfect. Yeah, because my emails are bouncing back because they're old, and I'm not running any kind of business within the matrix. I'm a service to, so it's just easier to contact me through Cooper Darwin because I can facilitate whatever needs to be facilitated under the barrier of I'm a human being,
Mhm.
right? Yeah, yeah. I'm away from all that stuff now, so it's a bit tricky. Don't have a website or anything like that. You can find me on Facebook under Sharna Inu and Leod.
Mhm.
Also, I could put that in the chat and just
Yeah.
reach out. So that's the easiest way, or call Cooper Darwin
Mhm.
and ask him.
Cool. And Cooper Darwin
Yeah.
has a variety of different events, different kind of cool things happening. What's going on over at Cooper Darwin?
Yes, Cooper Darwin's amazing. We're currently building a committee. If anyone's interested, we're teaming up with people that are unified for this. For the we call it the new Dream Line rather than Dream Time here in Queensland, just with the understanding of the blue diamond and stuff too. So we're doing lots of multicultural events. We've got a lot of elders and medicine people. Um, yeah, I guess
And
there's
you
so
guys
many words I want to use for people that come here, but there's many different parts. We have the gathering of the Four Winds every 2 years, which is happening next year. So that would be something really cool for those who are international. Yeah, we have all corners of the come in together to do peace treaties and to bring harmony and to, yeah, to do some serious work. We've got a labyrinth. We're building a stone, I'm going to say, which is still being in the dreamline process. So there's lots of stuff arriving here with the new medicines that are coming. We've got sweat lodges and medicine wheels and a big long house to sleep in, all the cooking facilities, the hungies and all different type of cultural meals. And yeah, it's a great place for meeting and learning and sharing
Mhm.
their core values. So yeah, I'm the treasurer and secretary here now, so I'm pretty got my roots here. This is
Beautiful.
the place to find.
Awesome. So that's Cooper Darwin Wilderness, is it called? What do we look up if we're going to look for it?
Yeah, Cooper Darwin Wilderness, or
Awesome.
the Four Winds.
Cool. Awesome. So we'll also toss those in somewhere, some for people that are curious more about what's happening in Queensland. And like I said, I highly recommend an art therapy session with Sharna. So if you're at all curious about that and can convince her to give you one of those, they are really, really eye-opening, really beautiful processes to really connect to yourself. The dream alignment codes are, as I stated before, are good for clearing out ancestral trauma, for aligning and accelerating your best goals at this time. And then Sharna has an awesome level of different comprehensions on all sorts of ways that you make little marks. So yeah, I highly recommend Sharna for any of that stuff. And then Cooper Darwin's got some really cool things happening. There's often fires, and then as Sharna was saying, some bigger, more international events that are all about cultural sharing. And it's a beautiful sanctuary for anybody that's curious about different cultures, spirituality. So really, really beautiful place, and I think that's about it. So thank you, Sharna, for being here today. Super, super lovely to have you. And thank you all. So I'm Naomi Kennedy of Dream Waters Wellness, Holistic Navigation. If you're curious about anything that I do and any of the processes, also feel free to like, comment, subscribe, keep watch, and